A warm welcome to another shorty from me. As announced on YouTube and Facebook, I have for you, or rather for my channel members, I have created an automation for Home Assistant that you can download. With this, you can not only have notifications sent to your phone when relevant events occur with your PV system, but more importantly, a routine runs at regular intervals, by default once a month, which brings your battery modules back into balance within the limits of what is physically possible and even balances the cells within the modules. Since there are always questions about this, I'll quickly walk you through how to install this automation and integrate it into your own system. After downloading, you have two files, a YAML file and a PDF manual. Open the YAML file in a text editor, select everything with string A, then use string C to copy it. The PDF file can simply be read through. Then switch to Home Assistant Settings, Automations and Scenes, and at the bottom right, click on Create Automation. New Automation. In the new window that opens, click on the three dots in the top right and switch to Edit in YAML to enter the programming interface. Here, replace the default text with the complete code from my file. Paste it with string V. After that, switch back to the graphical interface, and now you need to adjust my entities to match yours, because I don't know what you've named your devices. That's why this step is necessary, otherwise it won't work. But don't worry, it's nothing difficult. If you have the latest version of Home Assistant installed, it's even clearer, because the parameters are now displayed on the right in their own window. There you can now see my entity IDs. For example, if it says Sensor SolaX M, Grid Export for me, where the M stands for Master, just click in the input field below and enter only Grid Export. Then Home Assistant will automatically suggest the correct entity as it's named in your setup. The text on the left will update accordingly, and you do this for each entity. Grid IMP, bam, found it. Inverter power L, bam, found it, and so on. Below the entities, you can see the threshold values for when the automation is triggered. For example, a borderline current at, say, 5,000 watts. This applies per phase. If you don't want a trigger for a certain entity, you can simply delete it. What you set here determines and defines when the automation is triggered. Triggers. What happens and when will be defined later in the actions. But please only change the entity names and your threshold values. Leave everything else, trigger IDs, logic, structure, absolutely unchanged, otherwise you'll break the entire functionality. Also, please don't change anything in this field either. It means that as soon as the time is 1 AM, the automation will also be triggered. It then checks whether, by chance, it's the 15th of the month, like today, and if so, it starts the process at 1 AM that brings the storage modules back into balance within the limits of physical possibilities as well as the cells in the individual modules. As I said, but only within the technical and physical possibilities. The AND IF field, meaning the conditions, remains empty in this case. These are directly integrated into the actions, where we now also have to change the names of the entities. We click on the first line, then more options will appear. You shouldn't change anything in the first one. It just says to execute this option if, for example, it was triggered by the trigger with the ID borderline current. But below, in the action, you can then specify how you want to be notified. For example, borderline current on at least one phase. You do the same for battery capacity and so on. The heart of the automation is the battery balancing. There are several lines here now because it's quite a complex process. Again, only change something where there is an entity. Just click through the lines one by one. Everywhere you see an entity, adjust it accordingly. In this case, we're waking up the inverter once, in case it's on standby at night. You can do this with this entity, which is named similarly for you. Click on Select Entity and again type the second part into the selection field, in this case System On. The entity will appear with a green icon, and then you simply delete the entity that was previously there. Please leave the waiting times, delays, and processes as they are. Once you've done that, you'll not only have an automation that works reliably, notifies you when something important happens in your household, and keeps your batteries in good shape. You'll also learn how such an automation is structured. This will help you implement your own ideas in the future. More automations to make your life easier will be coming soon for my channel members. That's it for today, and I'll see you again in the next video.